I'm going to admit everybody.
Record.
You did? Okay, good.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. David, can you mute everyone just so we...
A better PTA.
Yep. Perfect.
Jeff, you just need to unmute.
Sorry, I'm now going to do my speech all over again. So welcome, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Lowell. I'm the Policy Director for Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, and I want to, on his behalf, welcome you and thank you for attending tonight. Rachel and I were trying to do the math earlier, and we think this is our 19th PTA leadership training event since we started in 2015. And many of you have been attending since the very beginning. We're so glad that you've stayed with us. But I'm also very surprised at every event when I see new names and new faces that I don't know attending. So that's also fantastic for us. We wanted to do one more event before we left office. And as always, it will be about how your experience as parent leaders are going. But we also wanted to take time to thank you all. I'll say more on that at the end. Couple of housekeeping notes. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. We got a tremendous amount of RSVPs. This is the largest online event I think we've ever had for one of these. And if we don't get to your question, we promise we'll follow up with an email. We are recording, and we'll also be able to save all the chat questions so we can get to them after if we just run out of time tonight. And we'll try to make the video and answers available to everybody. But that's it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my partner in crime, who does most of the work to get these events going, and is the co-founder and director at PTA Link, which is
Nope, we're gonna be nice. You're gonna
Can we
open up.
mute everybody? If you please mute yourselves if you're not already muted. Thank you. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to the co-founder and director of PTA Link, which is a volunteer-run nonprofit that assists New York City-run PTAs. Rachel Fine. Rachel.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for coming. For those of you who have joined us for our other online events since the pandemic, you know that we have been trying to bring parent leaders together to share their experiences pivoting to a remote world. And I had thought, and I'm sure many of you had, that at this time we would be back to where we were before the pandemic, and it seems like that's of course not happening. And once again, PTA leaders and PA leaders have to pivot to figure out how to stay in the virtual world and think up to the future about moving back into in-person, in the in-person world also. So we have brought 3 parent leaders tonight to speak to you about their efforts and their successes navigating our new reality, both hybrid worlds and online and in person. Our first speaker is Shirley Oban, and she's the PTA president at Francis Lewis High School. She is the Queens High School President's Council co-president, and she is the co-chair of CPAC. And she's going to speak to you a little bit about the update to the Chancellor's regulation, which now allows for hybrid meetings. And she'll talk to you a little bit about that. Afterwards, Anthony Settle from FACE will speak a little bit more about some of the changes to the Chancellor's regulation A660. After that, Cassidy Odunzi, who is the PTA co-president at PS 321 in District 15, will talk about how her PTA has had to pivot to the new world that we live in now, especially after making plans in the spring to be mostly back in person. They thought that we would be. And then finally, Marta Torres from District 16. She's the President's Council president there. She's the CEC 16 secretary, and she's the PTA president of a District 16 school and a District 32 school. Will speak about what's happening with PA and PTAs in District 16. So Shirley, do you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen at this time. So as Rachel said, I am Shirley Oban. I am co-chair of CPAC. And for anyone who doesn't know what CPAC is the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council, who is made up of all president's councils of the city. So districts 1 to 32, district 75, and the 5 borough president's councils for high schools. I'm also happen to be the co-president of Queens High School President's Council, which we have all the high schools in Queens. Our membership is all the PA, PTAs of high schools. And then I hail from, as a patriot, from Francis Lewis High School. That's the only time you will hear me say "Go Patriots." As a New Yorker and a football fan, that's, it's cringing, but yes. So I'm a patriot. And so today we're going to talk about parent leadership. I believe that parent leadership is to be involved, to be engaged, and ultimately be empowered. And as leaders, as parent leaders, we want to get parents also to be involved, engaged, and empowered. And why? So they can make informed decisions. So I'm going to discuss about the proposed, that's not proposed anymore, the changes to the A660 on the many ways that we can meet. So we know that prior to the pandemic, we had to meet in person. Because of the pandemic, we discovered virtual meetings. So with the revision of A660, we are allowed to have a choice to meet in person, on a virtual remote platform, or a hybrid meeting. And a hybrid is a combination of in-person and virtual platform simultaneously. Now, November 17, 2020, the PEP unanimously approved the revisions of the A660, which allows us to meet in person on a remote platform, virtual remote platform, and hybrid. And so we know that it's not either or. You can do combinations of 1 month we do in person, 1 month virtual, hybrid, but you have a choice, and it's up to your membership, with your discussion with your membership, what is best for your association. So I'm going to discuss specifically what is needed to have a successful hybrid meeting. So last month, Francis Lewis High School PTA, we did our first hybrid meeting as a PTA. It was a trial run because we have decided as an association that from March on, our meetings will be hybrid. So we did a trial run so we can work out the kinks if needed. Our currently, prior to, the school leadership team has been hybrid since June. So we know that the hybrid version works. We was unsure if our auditorium, because of the size, that the equipment that we had would be successful, or so everyone could be here to have an effective meeting. So November 3rd, we had our hybrid meeting. So the first step you would need to do is virtual remote platform. You have to decide what platform are you using. So we use our Zoom. We use the DOE Zoom. So technology and equipment, what would you need for the technology and equipment, and the roles and assignments. So step was where, for our in-person, for the hybrid, we decided it was going to be in the auditorium. And we chose this location. We didn't expect a large crowd. So we decided what section of the auditorium we were going to have parents seat and guests seat. Virtually, again, I said we use Zoom. How? So in the auditorium, we had our speaker, we had a camera, and we had a monitor. For the remote platform, we needed our laptop and the internet. right? So we used the school's internet. We was able to give access to us. And who? And when I say who, the roles and assignments. So if you're having in person, who from the executive board will be in person to greet our attendees? Who's going to help fill the assignment sheets and who's going to give out the documents? And we remember, as per a 660 revision, at least one executive board must be in person. On the virtual platform, remote platform, who's going to hand out, who's going to continually put the link for the attendance sheet? Who's monitoring the chat? Who's going to advise me when there are questions from the attendees on that platform? So those are the first steps on having the hybrid meeting. We're going to go back. We're going to go more into the technology and the equipment. So we use our DOE email Microsoft account, and with the revisions regarding financials, everyone is going to have to use the @schools.nyc.gov. So you might, and when you use this email, you have access to other apps. And one of the most useful one for us for conducting meetings is the Zoom. So you have the DOE Zoom. Then you need a laptop and internet connections. So the school provided us, well, in this particular instance, I used my laptop and they connected it to the internet of the school. Then we need the camera, the speaker, a projector, or a smart board. So the one that looked like a Boss sound bar, our equipment is a camera and speaker together and looks exactly like that. Very similar to what you see there. And our monitor was similar to a smart board, but it can be moved around in the auditorium. So I'm going to go to the steps with Francis Lewis High School PTA. This is what our meeting notification looked like. Since it's a hybrid meeting, the notification has to say it's hybrid. On our notification, when we sent with the flyer, we let how to register on the virtual platform, which was on Zoom. So they had a registration link, which is on the flyer. And then for in person, we reminded everyone, which is also on the flyer, you need to fill out that New York City DOE health screening form. And reminded everyone that all visitors must be vaccinated at this time to enter the building. And then COVID-19 protocols were being enforced, meaning wearing the mask, social distancing. So in our case, since our auditorium is really large, we didn't have, needed to be reserved. Social distancing for us, 450 people can attend while being social distance. So we didn't put first come, first serve, or we have advised, because we don't expect more than 150 parents to show up. So in our case, but if for other schools, for your association, if your auditorium is a little smaller or you have your meeting in a classroom, you have to keep that in mind. How many people can fit in there social distancing for the hybrid meeting in the in-person portion. So the day of, you have your laptop with the internet access, you got the camera and the speaker, and this is how our monitor looked, but it had stands so you can roll them around. So we had our equipment. And for us, we're lucky that our principal, which we have a really good relationship, is a tech geek, right? He foresaw that this is going to be the wave of the future, because he saw, like all of us have, engagement in all our meetings have improved, right? A lot more people are participating, and that was the beauty of allowing us and the positive that came out of the pandemic to move us to meet more to the 21st century. So he's the one who actually set up all the equipment for us, attaching it to the laptop, the speakers and things, the monitor to our laptop. So you would need an individual who is savvy to make those connections for you in person. So your Zoom platform or your virtual platform, because not everybody's using Zoom, and the in-person runs smoothly, that people on the virtual remote platform can hear what's going on in person, and in person can hear what is going on the Zoom. That and the hybrid meeting needs to be simultaneously. So there's some don'ts. So when you connect that speaker and camera, we find out that you cannot mute yourself, whoever has the laptop, and you cannot take the camera. So you need to be mindful in the beginning when reminding attendees in person that the camera and the microphone will not be muted or turned off. So they could be, let more quiet and conscious what is going on. If they talk, that people on Zoom will hear. Also, I didn't say our particular camera and speaker that's together follow voices. So that particular equipment is also important. So whoever's speaking, the camera follows the voice. So you don't have to move the camera around. The camera moves automatically. So that's a plus of one of that equipment, that piece of equipment that we have. So that's even more important to remind attendees that we need to be, cautious and conscious that the microphone is on. So what does a hybrid meeting look like? So here's different versions of a hybrid meeting. The one to the right, you see, it looked like it's in an auditorium. They're a little bit more fancier. They have like a camera, but you have the big screen and everybody's looking that way. Here on the smaller setting, which is closer to like our school leadership team, you have people on this big screen on the virtual remote platform, and then you have those in person. And you see they have a smaller camera there, and a camera and speaker together, and you can see the cord connecting to the laptop, and one individual is monitoring that laptop there. Here's some more pictures of hybrid meetings that, that could look like. Here, these screens are really big, but you have people in attending, everybody's able to face the screen, and people on the platform can see most of those who are in attendance. So face-to-face meeting, virtual meeting, and hybrid is right there in the middle. So hybrid satisfies those who like to meet in person or occasionally who like to meet in person, and those who are unable to come, they can stay on the virtual remote. And this is really great for high schools because most high schoolers don't live in the immediate area. Sometimes they're going across boroughs or they're coming from another borough. So this hybrid meeting and just the fact that we can have the choice of meeting virtually or hybrid increases parent engagement and empowerment in the voices. And this was like one of the best things that a collaboration between the DOE and parents has been the outcome of here. So that will be the end of my presentation on having an effective hybrid meeting. And I didn't miss anything, did I, Rachel? So working together, successful. Working all together, we'll be successful and a productive meeting. And like I said before, our principal was key because he was our tech guy, to set up the equipment and stuff. So working with our stakeholders and also finding people in our membership, because it doesn't have to be an executive board member, but including membership who have tech, technology, who's a tech guru. Working together, you can all make a successful and productive meeting.
So, Shirley, thank you. That was fantastic. So interesting and so helpful. Some people in the chat had said that they could not do this in their schools. So they wondered where you got the equipment from. Did you get it from the DOE? Is it some personal equipment? And other people had asked, after you asked that question, whether you can talk a little bit about the substance of your meeting. and what happened in that, and what your agenda was and topics that you discussed.
Okay, so first, the equipment. Like I said, my principal was like very gung-ho, and I said we was doing hybrid meetings since June. We had that hybrid meeting in June because the parents wanted to meet in person, and he was like, fine. So the principal went out and got the equipment. He purchased the equipment himself. He shopped around and he found the equipment. I know my camera keeps coming off. Find the equipment that will best suited, taking in account for echoes and spacing. And that's how we got the equipment. So the camera and the speaker. I've heard that the DOE you can have purchased equipments that maybe Anthony could talk more about that. The equipments, I heard that DOE are looking to purchase equipments to help out schools to help have hybrid meetings. So what we discussed on November, I would have to look at the agenda, but what we discussed, I remember now. So we discussed the normal, we did our minutes and the treasury reports, and we did approve bylaw changes, and we were going over the bylaws, amendments to our bylaws that we had approved. Then we had a guest speaker. We had the Princeton review. So we have a fundraiser where we partnered up with the Princeton review and give practice tests, practice SAT and ACT practice tests. So we charge the students $10 to take the practice test. And this year it was virtual. They offer it the exam on virtual, and November 20th was the SAT. So the Princeton review was there to talk about what is the SAT, what is the ACT, what is the difference, how you decide which test you should take, and answer any questions that parents had regarding about the SAT and the ACT. That was the bulk. And we always have our principal report who give us updates what's going on in the school and take questions from the parents, both virtually and in person. And I think we also had our Rose, the president of the Fresh Meadow Civic Association was there to give us updates, community updates as well. You're muted, Rachel.
Sorry about that. I know there are a number of other questions for you, but I also am mindful that you have to go run an election at 6:30. So I'll let you go. Anthony will step in and answer some of the questions, and you'll be back after the election to respond to the rest of the questions.
Yes.
Thank you so much. See you soon. So Anthony Settle will join us now, and he can answer some of the questions that came up in the chat about the equipment and having access to the school building, and some other news about the revised A660. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for having me. Shirley covered most of everything that I would have said. So to answer some of these questions, the question in regards to how do you have a hybrid meeting if you can't get into the building? In theory, you can't. So what we would suggest, even under normal circumstances, is this is a conversation that as an executive board member, you want to have with the principal. So we are bound by the guidelines that have been given to us by the Department of Health, which require that all persons who are entering buildings must be vaccinated. So we have no real say in that. That is a health issue. It's a health safety issue where our utmost and foremost responsibility is to keep students and faculty and staff safe and healthy. And so this is a conversation that you want to have with your principal. But as Shirley said at the beginning of her presentation, this is one of 3 options that parents and PAs and PTAs now have to hold a meeting. So you can hold a meeting in person. But again, that's a conversation you have with the principal on establishing ground rules and norms to allow people in and out of the building. You can continue to have meetings virtually, and we have found great success for many schools who have entered that realm, and what we're calling in the reg itself a VRP, virtual reality platform. So a virtual remote platform, virtual remote platform, VRP. And so that is proven to be of great success. The team that developed some of the changes for this regulation felt it was important that we provide a third opportunity. So as we move forward and as we return to some level of normalcy, that being able to incorporate people who would want to attend a meeting but can't be there physically, and to have full participatory rights at a meeting, that a hybrid option was very, very important to us, and to get that into the regulation. And so the first thing that one would have to do, aside from all of the things that Shirley mentioned, which are absolutely true, is that you would need to have that first conversation with your principal on establishing norms for people entering the building. Second, and she did a great job of covering this, is you have to do your own assessment of whether or not you have the capacity to hold a hybrid meeting. So you may have the equipment, but no one knows how to use the equipment. Well, it really is not going to help you hold a hybrid meeting. Or you may have the desire, but you don't have the equipment. That's not going to allow you to have a hybrid meeting. So you really have to do an assessment of your own capacity to host a hybrid meeting. If you come to the conclusion that you don't, then we would suggest either go all in person when we're allowed to, or remain virtual and continue your meetings that way. But you have greater options. Prior to this regulation being approved, you only had one option, and that was to meet on school premises in person. So now there are options, but you do have to do an assessment of your capacity to host, and you do have to have that conversation with the principal. Don't assume that you can automatically move right into a hybrid meeting. Have the conversation with your principal, do the necessary self-assessment to make sure that you can do it, and then you're free to do it. Is there any other question?
Anthony, there's something that you and I had spoken about, and I just see it in the chat, and it's a way of segueing into a larger general membership meeting, hybrid meeting, and starting off with trying it with committees or smaller groups.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the thing that you might want to try initially, because you do want to make sure that you have you're providing yourself every opportunity for full participation of people who are going to attend those meetings. And so if you want to have your committee meetings or executive board meetings, try that first in a hybrid format. So what are some of the things that you would need to do to establish and make that successful? And Shirley covered many of those brilliantly. You need to have the equipment. You need to have someone who's going to man a computer, to sit there at the computer and actually monitor the computer and watch the chat and see if there are questions in the chat and present those questions to the larger body. Doing that in a smaller setting so that you can get the hang of how that should go is always probably a better idea, to start small and build to something larger. So you don't, I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that tomorrow, if they're having a PA or PTA meeting, they have to have a hybrid meeting. You don't. There are 3 options to host your meeting: in person, in virtual, or in hybrid formats. So, but committee meetings, I would start there. Start hosting a committee meeting, 1 or 2 every now and then, and build. You don't have to enter into it, all of this, before the end of the year. You can allow yourself an opportunity to grow into this. And I think that's the better way to do it, and a way that allows you to figure out what are the kinks and what needs to be, how it should run. And to be honest with you, we don't have all the answers. We're also going to rely on your input and your feedback and your experiences in this to help us understand how to promote this across the city. You're muted, Rachel.
I thought that I was unmuted.
You're muted.
Yeah. We keep clicking and it's not working, but now I'm here.
Yes.
Sorry about that, everyone. Do you want to say anything else about the updates to the chancellor's regulations and mention the trainings that you'll be doing next week?
Sure. So the first thing I want to mention is that thank you to all of you who pushed through this pandemic to stay in touch with your school communities and keep people connected, both to their schools and to other families. You did more than we could ever have hoped, and you did more than we ever could do. You are the boots on the ground, so we are very grateful for your presence and in our schools. What we tried to do is take some, not all, some of the things that we had learned that PAs and PTAs were very successful in doing, or things that we knew we needed to make available to more people, and infuse those elements within the regulation and normalize them. So we took 4 areas: eligibility, meetings, voting, and finances, and tried to bring all of those into the 21st century. And so Shirley covered brilliantly the notion of hybrid meetings. Many of you have already been engaged in doing successfully virtual meetings, and we all know that you know how to conduct a meeting in real time and in person. One of the innovative things that we think that we were able to do, and that is to improve your ability to do your banking. And that through the use of online banking opportunities and resources, as well as the use of a debit card or bank card. I wanted to say something very, very quickly about the use of a debit card or bank card. We limited the use of a bank card or a debit card to 2 instances. And I want to be very, very clear about the instances in which we have said that this is permissible. The first is for a vendor, if you're working with a vendor who does not accept a check. So I want to be very clear about this. Using a check is still the primary and preferred manner in which you conduct transactions and business. But in those instances where you are working with a vendor who does not accept a check, you may use the debit card that was issued for your checking account. Now, we've established some rules and norms around that, and so I encourage you all to go to the regulation and read through that. It reads like a regulation. I can't get away from that. It's not going to read like a very enjoyable novel. It will read like a regulation. But I encourage you to familiarize yourself with the regulation so that you understand what it is that you can and cannot do with the debit card. The second instance that you may use a debit card is for an online purchase where you may be getting the better price. You might be dealing with a vendor who's in California, and that's going to be the better price that to allow you to do. So we made that process for you in terms of your vendors, is making that a little bit more competitive. And again, that brings everybody into the 21st century, and it's the way we do banking nowadays. There's some other elements. So you may use a third-party app to receive funds. So you may use an app, and we're not endorsing any one particular application, but you may use an app like PayPal to receive funds, to receive dues. So if someone wishes to make a donation, they can do that through that app. You may use Zelle if your bank has Zelle attached to it. You can use Zelle. The primary issue that we want to encourage people to do there is you may use the money to receive funds, and it must go directly into your PA or PTA. And if you are a President's Council, your President's Council bank account. It should not go to you and your personal bank account, and then you transfer the money into the PTA bank account. It must go directly from the donor to your PTA checking account. So in those instances, you may use that. Other instances, you may not. And there's a listing of things that you cannot use your debit card for. One of the other things that we think is very important is the use of a disbursement form. And so we ask that you create disbursement forms, or you can use one that you will find in the PA-PTA resource folder on the DOE website. The next thing that I want to convey to you is that we will cover all of these matters in great depth and in detail in a series of training workshops that we will offer starting on Tuesday of next week. We will host them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I believe Tuesday and Thursday are both in the morning. and Wednesday is in the early evening. But I believe Rachel is posting those workshops in the chat. You can go to the DOE website and get the listing of those. You can contact your FLC for those. You can contact me directly, and I will put my contact information here in the chat, and I'll do that right now. It's Settle, SETTLE, Settle at schools, and that's plural, .nyc.gov. And we will be able to forward the flyer with all of the training information starting next week. So I think I covered, that was a big, broad overview. But I know that you have a packed agenda for this evening. I'll be here and we'll be able to answer any questions that you may have, or you can easily shoot me a quick email and we'll get those responses out to you as quickly as we can. So thank you for everything that you do, because you make my life easy.
Thank you so much, Anthony. That was really helpful. And I am going to put the flyer about the trainings into the chat. Will you be around for the rest of?
I'm right here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Next up is Cassidy Odunzi, who is the PTA co-president at PS 321 in District 15.
Hi, everybody. I've been reading through some of the chat responses too. So I see that there's lots of requests for fundraising. So I hope that what I have to share is helpful for people in many different schools, knowing that we are all coming at this from very different experiences and different, different. Anyhow, my name is Cassidy Odunzi. I go by she, her. I am a parent of 4 NYC public school students, 1 in a high school in D1, 1 in a middle school in D1, and I have 2 in elementary school here in District 15. I'm a second-year co-president for our PTA, and I started last year at in the fall when we had gone through a lot of transitions and we're in desperate need of a new PTA president. So I didn't think I would be doing this, but I was really lucky to join with a friend who had a lot of experience and knew what she was doing. And we had a good relationship. So that really helped in terms of building trust and being able to navigate remote school much easier. I am a member of the District 15 President's Council. I'm also an advocate for equity in education and participated in the Alliance for Quality Education Ed Warriors program, which I highly recommend. And I've learned I've learned a lot from. So I started PTA co-presidency and doing that. So it's been a very interesting year in terms of thinking about equity as we fundraise as well, both with our school and looking at how we fundraise and how it relates to other schools and having conversations like this, because information is definitely important. I have been an active member in my school. I think I was sharing screens. Somebody just said my screen is off. Can people see my face?
Yes, we see you fine.
Okay, so maybe it's somebody else. And I know I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. Volunteering is one of the biggest challenges for sure. So being able to give time to participate in your school is a real, it's a privilege in many ways. And I know it's also the best way to get parents involved is by creating events or helping to get parents to volunteer to be part of events. That said, I am a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I think that there are ways and multiple ways that parents can get involved, even if you are working full-time. So I highly encourage parents to participate, and that's something that's challenging. We're a big school. We're a school of 1,200 plus students, and even with a huge pool of parents, it tends to be a lot of the same parents, as I'm sure many of you who are PTA know that you tend to get a small group of people who are doing things over and over. So it's just creating different opportunities. Last year, we scrambled to shift everything online. And we had our Zoom account, which we as a PTA, so this is from Shirley's presentation, we as a PTA had to buy our Zoom account. Granted, that was last year. Maybe it will change, but we have like our DOE, our principal uses a DOE account for certain meetings, but when we've done our PTA meetings, we've had to use our own Zoom account. So that is an expense that we've had to incur as a PTA, and we're lucky that we did. But it should be the case that every PTA should be able to use a DOE Zoom, I think, and they should have the resources to at least have a laptop or a computer so that you can conduct a hybrid meeting. So those are issues that the DOE needs to fix if they're going to create an environment where families can be doing hybrid meetings. So last year, everything was remote. And so we are a school that does a lot of in-person events. We do family arts nights and green and healthy nights and events where you have tons of families and kids come into the school and participate. Fully remote, we obviously could not do that. So we shifted to online. We had some very successful events. We had other events that were not so successful. My paper, sorry, I'll move my paper. Is it really noisy? I see people are having issues hearing me. I don't know what else I can do to change my volume. And so we tried a lot of events. We were very lucky as a school that we did have a lot of parent participation at our PTA meetings. We had much higher numbers for the majority of them, I think, because parents wanted to know what was happening. And we have a principal who is very transparent in terms of what she shares with the school. And that communication is key to parent involvement. The more parents know, the more that they want to be involved. And it really makes a big difference. Can people hear me okay? I keep seeing notes that that's not the case.
We can now. I think it was the paper you
Okay.
had. Microphone.
Okay, just making sure. So we as a school were pretty lucky that parents were engaged. A lot of parents, families did have access to internet. They had access to Zooms, and that made a really big difference with our ability to engage with parents fully remote. This year, we, in the spring when we planned our calendar, we planned our fundraising, we planned our budget, we had an expectation, as Rachel said, that we would be back in person, that we would be doing these events back in the school. And clearly, as we got into fall, it seemed that that wasn't the case. So we started our fall with, and I'm going to share my screen too, with some events. Historically, we had shared we've had a back to school potluck, and it's been an event where families bring food. It's a lot of sharing of food. It's just a fun time where everybody gathers. This year, because we're not sharing food, we shifted. So we did a BYO picnic, and it was also it was combined with a volunteer fair, which is normally something that would have happened in the school on a separate evening. But we sort of combined the two events. We had people bring their own dinner. Some people ordered pizza. Some people brought food. Some people just came to be there. We had a band. One of our staff members is part of a band, and she was able to perform, which was great. So we had a little bit of entertainment. And then we also combined, we reached out to a local grocery store and we got a discount on ices. So we were able to give ices for free. We were able to get parents to sign up for some of the volunteering events. We had tables outside with papers and some of the different chairs who had volunteered and headed events, get people to sign up. We had, so it was really just an opportunity, first off, too, for families to come together. We hadn't been together in a year and a half. So having an outdoor space where families could come together, be on school grounds, see what was going on, see friends. It was a really wonderful event. And it was successful in terms of building a base of getting some volunteers. From there, we've created a Google form, which is a great way if you have parents who are engaged online. We've created a Google form with opportunities of just interest, what grades their children are in. We also have something called a pinch hitters list. And a pinch hitters list is basically, we create a group and it's just parents who have said that they might be available at random times. And when we need a parent to come in to volunteer for like the vaccine clinics, for example, that pinch hitter group was who we reached out to. So it's creating different opportunities. And we've still had a hard time. I mean, I will say that this year has been a challenging year to get volunteers. I think in this hybrid world, people are back to work and then navigating, where do I work? What time do I work? What time do I have to myself? What time, the juggle is challenging in many ways, more so than it was when we were all fully remote. So we've tried to do some real internal organization so that we have a structure, we have a way for parents to easily volunteer. We also have weekly emails that go out that have listings of our meetings, many of which are hybrid. Some are in person, but I mean, all of our in-person meetings have a hybrid option. We have our monthly PTA meetings. So it's really trying to create as much engagement as we can. And those weekly emails are really helpful. We also created an internet page, an Instagram page, which is where these images are coming from. And again, it's just creating different ways, different means for parents to be engaged with the school, to see what's going on. It's really about being flexible and versatile and trying as many different things. So we had our back to school picnic and it was just really great. We ended up following that with we've had an international new parents breakfast. We had an international parents just coffee and chat. We've done some things outside, events that normally would have been inside or bigger groups. We've just tried to create some ways for parents to come to the school, to be outside, to just feel more comfortable getting back into school. And it's been really wonderful. And overall, it's just been a nice way to see people, and even with masks on and abiding by all the COVID rules and restrictions within the school, we really haven't had things in school, but just being outside and on school grounds and getting to see other parents has been a really helpful way to get parents to feel re-engaged within our community. We also did a Halloween fest, and we sort of were back and forth. One of the biggest issues with having to have outdoor events is contending with weather. And so it was literally back and forth all week long. Do we cancel? Do we do it? But it was really just let's try it. And we did it. Our only expenses were buying pumpkins, and we had some parents volunteer. We had people donate for a bake sale. So we did do a bake sale and had individually wrapped items. And then what we normally would have is an evening family arts night in December. We decided to sort of combine that with a fall fest. We had some craft tables that we set up outside for kids. We had pumpkins to paint. We had some fun games that were just very simple. We also were lucky that the fifth grade class, one of the fifth grade classes every year does a thriller performance, and they got to move that outside and do that performance outside for the students in the backyard. And it was great. And it was also just a realization that it's simple. We didn't need to have bouncy castles or pony rides. It was just about having some simple opportunities for people to come together. We had, for the crafts tables, we had just some donation boxes set out. We had a suggested donation, but it was really just give if you can. And then we had our bake sale. We also had our school shop. We sold t-shirts. And so again, we had some inventory that had been sitting in school basically for most of last year that we were able to bring out and sell shirts. So all of these were ways to sort of have something that was really simple, outdoors on school grounds, in what felt like a more safe and comfortable environment, and both do fundraising and fundraising. One of the biggest challenges that we've had is that some of our bigger events, which are normally indoor events, we've had to sort of navigate. We usually do an arts party. We usually do some other we've done movable feasts, which are, small groups from different classes have a cocktail party outside, or then go to another house and sort of shift. We've realized that that's just not going to happen. A lot of families are clearly not comfortable with being indoors or going to friends' houses. As more people get vaccinated, maybe we'll move to that direction as an opportunity in the spring. But it just didn't. We're a very large school. It didn't feel comfortable for us. One of the other really successful fundraisers that we've done, and we shifted a couple of years ago, is our used book sale. I know many schools do a Scholastic book fair, which is great because they come in, they do it, kids buy books. A couple of years ago, we shifted, and we have, over the course of a week, we have parents come in and donate books. And it's, we really tried just to take books from sort of K to 5th grade level. We often get a lot of board books, but a wide range of books. So parents donate books, we set it up, we organize it, and then just like a school sort of scholastic book fair would happen, classes come through and the kids get to shop. We start all of the books at $1 and they go up to like $3, and we make sure that every child gets to leave the book sale with a book. And it's great because we make all of the money that we get from it. We're not getting a percentage of whatever Scholastic is making. And it's been a really lucrative, as well as just really satisfying. The kids love it. They come in and choose all kinds of books. And they can leave the book sale with 5 books for $5, or, you know, they range sometimes up to like $3 for some of the bigger chapter books. But that has been a really great way to bring some equity into some of the events that we do and give kids new books. The parents love it because they're getting rid of books. Sometimes they realize their kids have bought back the same books that they got rid of, but it's a great way to have just pure fundraising and not have an expense. It does take parent volunteers. I'm trying to see what else we had. And then this past weekend, we are a big school, and historically for a number of years, we've had a holiday shop. So we did actually decide to do our holiday shop this year. We pared it down. Normally it's a very large event. We cut it down to about 2/3, a little bit less than 2/3 of the size. And we rented tables and had vendors come in. And that was the first in-person event that we've had in the building. And it all went very smoothly. But it's navigating. It's sort of made us think about, you know, what else can we do in person, but it's still just navigating what works. And, you know, we are fortunate that we are a school that has traditionally has the ability to raise a lot of money and has parents who are very engaged. But I think a big part of that is really communication and giving parents some different opportunities and different ways to get engaged. I think the biggest sort of takeaway that we've learned this year is just flexibility and trying to be creative and thinking about different ideas. One of the other things that I didn't talk about is we've also done some parents just fully remote sort of social and emotional events where we've had a speaker come in and speak. Last year, they were very successful. This year, we've had a little bit less participation because not everybody is fully remote. We've shifted for the most part to a scale donation. So instead of having like a $10 suggested donation or a $5 suggested donation, we sort of had that, but we said, please give what you can. And we've always started tickets at $0. And we've gotten higher donations than that. So it's been a really nice way to, one, make our goal, and then sometimes make more than that, because parents who have the opportunity to give often will give a little bit more if they can. And especially if it's something that they're interested in. We did an event last year, which was a movie screening, which we had the luck of having a parent who was able to help to provide a movie screening. And we did that as a split event. So we shared the fundraising, and it went from between both our school and another school in our district. So doing some co-opted fundraising between schools, I think, can also be a really beneficial option if you have the access to doing something virtually. For our future events, we've had to push a lot of events to spring. So I think in terms of fundraising, you know, we are behind our target, but we're trying to work on different ways. And we're also sort of hoping that some of our bigger events, we usually do a spring carnival and we do a spring big fundraising event, which in the spring we shifted to all online. We know that at a certain point, people are not going to want to be engaged online. So it's trying to navigate how we can get parents involved, how we can create either some smaller satellite groups or smaller opportunities for parents to engage. Another thing that we're working on is just some sort of meet and greets, working with some local bars or restaurants to try and have a parents' night, just for parents to be able to come and meet each other and get to know each other, and maybe have a suggested donation to do some fundraising in the process. But I do think trying to figure out different ways to send communications to parents, I think a weekly email, if you can do it to your student, to your parent body, if they are engaged that way. I saw that some people said that they're purely backpack sending. We have been doing both backpack flyers as well as online. I would say the majority of our flyers still this fall are online. We also did do just a direct fundraising letter, and that was a letter that we sent in a backpack and online. So it's really about just trying to think about different things. Few takeaways. Sometimes simple is best. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of things. It's just creating a few small opportunities that families can come together. I think especially after we've all been apart and many people have been remote for so long and are still just trying to navigate what's comfortable, it's just creating some small opportunities to come together as a community, figuring out ways to get parents involved, try some different ways to try and encourage volunteers, some bigger events, some smaller events, trying to do some things that are class-wide. Another thing that we did last year is that we really tried to organize our class parents and to create sort of a more uniform expectation of what class parents were doing and trying to get them involved in creating some fundraising and reaching out. So we do have a class parent list, and we send emails from our PTA to class parents. And that sometimes hearing from a class parent is a great way. Sometimes parents don't always read a school email or the regular Tuesday bulletin or whatever your weekly email is if your school has it. Hearing from class parents can be a great way to get parents involved. Creativity. I'm sure these are things that every PTA is working on and trying to do for different times. I mean, we did have some challenges because we were trying to do a lot of events that were sort of right after school. And especially as it started to get darker, you have a limited window in terms of when you can do an event after school. So trying for weekends, looking at what your school population is and, doing some polls or just trying to some different times and seeing what works. I think doing a combination of fundraising and fundraising. Not every event that you do should be about fundraising. And lastly, the scale of donations that I said has been really successful for our school. Anyhow, I think that is everything that I had. I'm sorry if you couldn't hear me that well. I'll look in the chat to see what questions there were. I'll stop sharing my screen. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Cassidy. That was terrific. There are a number of questions, and one I just caught was, what vendors do you use for the Spring Carnival?
I have to check because I actually, to be honest, have not been involved in the Spring Carnival. In the past for Spring Carnival, we've done a mixture of things. I mean, I think, 1 year we even had firefighters come to help to do like a climbing wall because it has to be set up. We found just sort of local carnival people, and we have had bouncy castles and things like that for the Spring Carnival. But we also, a huge part of it, and when we have our Spring Carnival, normally a huge part of it is both in school and outside. So we have a lot of parent volunteers who do face painting. I mean, it's a lot of getting parents, like seeking out what your skills your parents have and having them come in and do things. So we've had parents do face painting. My sons have actually come in and helped to do origami tables before. It's getting creative, looking at like what alumni students might be willing to come back and help. I had written it into the chat before because Tazine had said that they have high schoolers do community service hours. We actually had some high schoolers come and work as help at our bake sale. So that's also a great way if you're looking for some volunteers. I know that there are a lot of high schools where students have to do community service hours. Beacon is one of them. I think there are a lot of schools where that's a requirement. So maybe reaching out to the PTA or even just the principal at a high school and see if they have students who are looking for community service hours. That's a great way to do it. We also work with one of our former school agents. He runs a community service program with a group of high schoolers. And so we had 10 students. He brings them in. He's got an amazing group, and it's really inspiring to see how he works with the students. But they came in and they help for our holiday shop, for example. They come in and help us with setting up the tables. We get them pizza. They get to use the gym for a little while, and then they came and helped clean up the tables too. So there are a lot of ways to look at different resources. If you're having a hard time getting parents to volunteer, maybe there's ways to get some older students and high schoolers who need to do community service hours to help volunteer. I'm just trying to see if I see anything else in the notes. Does anybody else have any questions? And I think also, I don't know if your districts have a PTA President's Council, but sharing ideas with other PTA presidents is really helpful. And just getting feedback. That's, I think, communication and just getting ideas, especially now more than ever, is really important. I saw the question about the online movie screening. So we happen to be lucky that we have a parent who works with a production company. And so they provided the screening 100% and had a platform. So the screening was fully donated to us. We use, for a lot of our online events in general, we use Eventbrite. So everything that we get, it gets set up, it's linked to our PayPal, which then goes directly into our bank account. You can sell tickets that way, you can do free tickets. And then basically they got a link and they got an email when the screening happened. I think there were a few glitches, but overall it worked really well. And that is the other, like, you know, I wish that, and I hope that it's great that we can use debit cards. I still have to navigate how exactly that works. I'm curious, like how many people have to sign a debit card purchase. So there's things like that that the DOE has to figure out in regulations. I know that we have parents who ask all the time, can we Venmo you? But it's like, it's still, we have to use cash, but PayPal is great. We do use PayPal on our website for some of those events that people are paying through for Eventbrite. And that goes directly to our website, but that's, we sold tickets through Eventbrite, and then the screening was a third party that did it. The used book sale, normally, I will say that normally we have parents, like we usually have like a big shopping time where parents can come in. We didn't do that as much, and we didn't open it up to parents every day because it was, we actually, our classes, we would have like half the class come through at a time. I think, you know, the books all got delivered. They all sat in the school and, you know, were sitting there for a few days before anybody was buying them. So I think overall, people felt pretty comfortable with it. And we didn't really have much in the way of hesitancy in terms of buying the used books. And I think it's a great way to just make those book sales more equitable in terms of giving kids the opportunity to get more books.
Thank you, Cassidy. That was so great.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this. And it seems from the chats that people were really inspired and enjoyed it and learned a lot. I failed to mention earlier that we know that there are 100 people in the room with so many great ideas besides those of our presenters. So we are leaving time at the end for folks to share their effective strategies and successes. So we hope that you will do that. I saw someone wrote in the chat that they have some helpful ideas. So we're looking forward to hearing them. Someone had asked whether there's going to be any Title I parent training. And there's been a bunch of questions about PTAs who just are not up to this level of engagement and are looking for some basic help. And so, Anthony, I'm going to ask you to speak to that, whether you know if there's going to be any Title I training, but where PTA leaders who are just starting off can get some of the basic information that they're looking for.
Sure. We know that there are many who are just starting out and there are varying degrees of knowledge among PAs and PTAs. So the first thing that I want to make mention is what the support systems that are available to you all. And so the first support system that I'm going to mention is the Family Leadership Coordinator. Every district has a Family Leadership Coordinator, what we call the FLC in DOE speak. So the Family Leadership Coordinator is your resource person, your immediate in-district resource person to all things that deal with issues involving parent leadership. So that's PA-PTA, as well as school leadership teams, and in some cases, they work very closely with CACs. Not all, but in some. So these are your immediate resource people that you should get to know. So if you need a list, I know Tahiri placed a list of folks by district in the chat. You can go there, or you can reach out to my office, give us a call, or reach out to me directly on my email, asettle@schools.nyc.gov. I put it in the chat a few times. On who is your family leadership coordinator, and we can get that information to you, as well as who is maybe the support person from my office who works more closely with your district. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I mentioned, I just mentioned it, and that is the person in my office who works closely with your district. And so there are a team of us known as school-based liaisons, and we work with FLCs, we work with president's councils, and we work with schools. And so, and helping to support the work that is done in your district. So you can reach out to one of the school-based liaisons. If you reach out to me again, I will be glad to point you in the right direction. The last and probably the most important resource people that you have in your district are the members of other PAs and PTAs who gather monthly in what we call the President's Council. In every district, whether it is a community school district or a high school superintendency, has an assigned President's Council. And so there are 5 borough-wide councils, and they encompass high schools. So all the high schools in the borough of Brooklyn, the presidents of those high schools attend the High School President's Council meeting. And in your districts, all the presidents of your PAs and PTAs also attend a President's Council that is assigned for your district. So each district has a President's Council. Those are your colleagues. Those are your confreres. Those are other PA, PTA leaders doing the same work that you're trying to do or doing. And they are great resources. These are folks who are doing it, have done it, have ideas about how to do it better, and can be great resources for you, especially if this is your very first year. And we're now in December, and you're still trying to figure out what is going on. What do I do? How do I do this? These are great individuals who know what you want to know. And so you can rely on them. Again, you can find out when those meetings take place, who they are, where they meet, through your family leadership coordinator, or contact our office, and we can get you in touch with your family leadership coordinator who can provide you with the information. If you are a PTA president and you've not attended a President's Council meeting, I highly encourage you to do so. You will get an incredible amount of knowledge from attending those meetings, as well as information that is coming from your district superintendent and other personnel in your district, as well as from Central. So they're great opportunities for knowledge. And again, I give you my email, asettle, A as in Anthony, settle, S as in Sam, ETTLE @schools.nyc.gov, and we will put you in touch with who you need to be in touch with.
Just quickly, Anthony, someone in the chat asked if President's Councils are only for high schools.
No, so each district has a President's Council, and each borough has a President's Council, and the borough President's Councils are for high schools, but District 1 has a President's Council, District 13 has a President's Council, District 28 has a President's Council. So each of the districts have a President's Council, and it's part of the structure, it's part of the built-in structure. So when you read in Chancellor's Regulation A660, and it says PA, PTA, or President's Council, it's the President's Council for your district that we're talking about. When it mentions PA, PTA, we're talking about your PA or PTA. But when we talk about President's Council, it's the President's Council for your district that we're talking about.
Great, thank you so much for clarifying that, Anthony.
Anytime.
We're going to turn the room over to Marta Torres, who is the President's Council President of District 16. She's the CEC 16 Secretary and the PTA President of a District 16 school and a District 32 school. Thanks, Marta.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Quickly, before I say anything else, the question that was asked about can other executive board members come to a president's council meeting? Absolutely. I invite to mine the PTA executive board and parent coordinators if they so choose to come, just so that everybody's on the same page with information, even though parent coordinators do get more information from the FLC, the Family Leadership Coordinator. So I'm here tonight to talk about my schools in District 16. A high school's been asking for me. Okay, which high school? Okay, I guess we could talk after. Okay, so I've been reaching out to my President's Council presidents and just reaching in and checking in with them on what they have been doing. Last year, I left them. I've been President's Council something each position for many years. And so last year, and in September, I left them with them to assess their PTA, assess their parents. Like Ms. Cassidy said, your main goal may not be to fundraise. Your main goal might be to bring in your families and reconnect. So I left them with the ideas to assess their school and see what is the main focus for their school, and having talks with their principals and parent coordinators to find exactly what it is that their parents association should be focused on. With that being said, a lot of them did find that they needed some fundraising done. And for me in particular, in April, I did have COVID, so I could not, yes, Miss Rachel, you can put my contact information in the chat. So I've been out sick for a little bit, but when I came back, I'm here altogether. My executive board did take over for me, but when I came back, what I found out was, and I was able to do my PTA and SLT virtually. So I was still in the mix, but what we found out for my school in particular, MS35, is that we needed to bring the community back together. So last year, I know some of you know this, there was a program that came out for wellness ambassadors for the schools. So I was able to do the trainings over the summer, and I actually did a workshop with everything that I learned from the training on wellness and how parents should be taking care of themselves to be able to take care of their families. It's one of the slides that is in the deck that I have. Thank you, Rachel. I'm not sure if the gentleman is going to put it up. But I have a few slides. Thank you, David. So, and like I said, I'm a PTA president and had many roles. So not only did I do this for my District 16 school, I did it for my other son's high school, which I'm also PTA president for. And it was just a like you see the rocks, right? It was a session for parents to woosah, de-stress. We did a 5-minute meditation session. We talked about making sure that you take care of yourself first. And then at the end, we talked about, you know, how we were doing during this pandemic, how we're coming out of it, and what we're doing to keep ourselves well for our families. And then we ended with a nice little song and kept us peppy and happy. And then at the end of the meeting, I was able to, you know, just give the small messages from the school, like let's say attendance is important, make sure your kids are coming to school, and just remember to take care of yourself before, you know, you're not well for your family. Also, you can put up the next slide. So one of my PTAs, and my presidents are here tonight, so I want to thank you all for coming. This one came from who? From one of my schools. They do a few fundraisers. Yes. Brooklyn Brownstone, yes. That is the president, Mr. Kwanda, and she is actually on my president's council as well. They do a few fundraisers. This one is pretty good because it is basically a food fundraiser that you don't have to touch anything. Everything is in a bag. And when they actually do this, the company puts everyone's order in a box specifically for themselves. So it's not like other places where they send you 25 of one thing and you have to put the parents' order together. It's already done for them. So they'll deliver it to you at the school, and when the parents pick it up, they're just picking up one box, sign off, and it's pretty easy, and they make a good deal from it. Can I have the next slide? Okay. Can we make this a little larger? This holiday shop comes from one of my other PTA presidents from PSIS 308. She is also on my PTA at the middle school 35, but this is one she did with her elementary school. They actually go from 3K through 8. And it was just a way for the kids to be able to give gifts to their family. It's currently going on now. So, during the pandemic, nobody could visit anyone. No one could do. It was just who was in your house. So this was a way to be able to get something that, within the budget of the kids. They're not going to come in with a lot of money. They were able to purchase things to give to their friends and family and, bring back that spirit of we're coming back out, we're coming together, and just building family that way. And have the next slide. Yes. And this is one that I didn't know she was doing, and I'm so happy she is doing it. So we weren't traveling, we weren't doing things. And this is actually a family ski weekend. She's starting it now for parents to be able to put their deposits down. It's the weekend before Martin Luther King Day, and that weekend. And it's all inclusive, basically. They pay a specific they pay a specific price based on how many people are going to be in the room, and there are discounts for the children's ages, and everything is included. So the room, the food, all the activities, and the travel to and from Pennsylvania. This is a really good way to build your families together, and make money at the same time. And basically what they do with all their money is they do other events that are free for families to build. Well, Ms. Rice is on here tonight. If you can accommodate someone who doesn't go to 308, Ms. Rice?
Yes, I'm sorry. It is open to family and friends. So this is like exclusively like PTA, kind of separate from the school. So you are able to invite your outside family and friends, because this also serves as one of our fundraisers.
All right, Ms. Jones, you can message Ms. Rice and talk about how you can get on the list to go on the trip. So you see, you build family outside of your PTA as well, and that also comes to your school. At the end of the year, they like to do stuff for their moving up classes and graduating classes. So their major goals are for helping with that, and then in between their building a family. Yes, all these flyers will be up on the website, I believe, right, Rachel? If you're talking, you must be muted.
I'm off. No, I'm not muted.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing all of the flyers.
Okay. So this is something, Krispy Kreme is something that a lot of our PTAs have done. I've done it myself. When I was at the elementary school, I've done it at the middle school, and I've also done it at the high school. It is a very, very easy thing to do if your parents are interested. But for me, I really feel like the way to get this one done really well is to let them know what's the goal for it. So the way I've gotten it to be done, she's doing a great job with this right now. But the way I've gotten it to be done with a great profit is to let them know my goal. So when I was at the elementary school, it was to help fundraise for the moving up classes. So 3K, pre-K, kindergarten, and 5th grade, something for graduation, something for, 3K is not really a graduation, but, you have a little party, we're moving on to the next way, and vice versa with all the classes. For the high school, I gave a what is it called? What was it called? It's a scholarship. I gave a scholarship to a graduating senior. It was not, my goal is to, yes, support, like the children that are doing the best in school, like valedictorian, salutatorian, but I also want to make sure that we make light and we make or recognize the children that have progressed the most. So my when I asked the principal who it should go to, I made sure to tell him I wanted to be a child that not necessarily has made the highest goals, but has made the most improvement, has gone for whatever they've gone through in life, they've made improvement and merited graduation. And in the high school, there's a large population of ESL students. So it's basically half and half English kids and ESL students. So this one came to high school in his second year, well, the 10th grade instead of 9th, and he was fully speaking Spanish. He had to learn English and pass his classes and merit graduation. It was something that he absolutely did. And so we gave him a $500 scholarship for him to move on to college. My goal for the high school this year is exactly the same thing, but I want to do 2 scholarships. So we're going to push this fundraiser and a few more. Can I get, yes, you can go straight to the Krispy Kreme website and get all these things. They even make the flyers for you. Picture day. Everybody's scared of picture day because kids sit next to one another. Companies have changed with the times. So picture day at 26, this is Ms. Rice again, already happened for the winter pictures. Basically, PS26 is a co-located school. They have a middle school attached and a D75 school attached to the building or in the building. And so they do separate picture days for like graduation pictures and for regular pictures. This fundraiser was done in the spirit of, making sure people can social distance or whatever. So the students came to the auditorium only if they paid for it. So it wasn't taking everybody out the classroom. Second, when it was time to take pictures was the time to take off your mask and then put it back on. And then in the future, for the next, they didn't do class pictures here, but for the next picture day, even if they do a class picture, it will be composite pictures. The children don't have to sit next to one another and, for whatever reason, if somebody's sick or whatever, it won't happen. They are composite pictures that they put into a class picture. Is that all my slides? I have some more. So yeah, they have a this is the popcorn order sale, and it is easy. They make the flies for you. Print them, put them together, you hand them out to your families. You make sure you give them the deadline. For me, I like to make sure that every single flyer that goes out, the parents know what is the goal for the fundraising amount. So we're fundraising for anything, it must have what we're going to do with the money. I think that's all my flyers, right? Do I have another one? There are a few photographers that are really good. They're saying Class Act. We use, what is his name? Ms. Rice, are you still on the line? Okay, well, they use Lifeway Photo. That's what it is. Lifeway Photo. He's really good. He can do wonders with pictures, and he likes to give you the option if you're there. Parents get a discount, or there are pictures free if they help with the day, and they can airbrush if you need it to be airbrushed. Are there any questions? Yes, Lifeway is amazing. Yes. Okay, so like I said before, I am also a not just a PTA president or President's Council president. I'm also on the Community Education Council for District 16, and that's just like the next step in the realm of parent volunteership. And a lot of information that I get from there, I like to bring back to our PTAs and keep people informed. A lot of the picture companies also have, when you take pictures, there'll be like a barcode that goes with your pictures. And if you wanted to reorder online, you could. You're welcome. All right, Rachel, are there any questions for me?
I think that's, I don't see any other questions. We will make sure that I've shared your, so I'm assuming it's okay for people to reach out to you if they have any specific questions about anything. So this is the end of our speakers, and Ms. Oban is back. She was our first presenter who spoke about the meetings. If anyone has any questions for her, maybe David, we can bring back Shirley Oban, and if people have any questions for her because she had to leave before she could answer any, we can move into that. Oh, Marta, someone asked if the family wellness was virtual.
Absolutely. For me, like I said, I had COVID in April. I still have breathing problems. I was an asthmatic before, and it really messed with my lungs. So everything I'm doing so far is virtual, and I make minor trips out as I get better. So for me, it had to be virtual.
Well, Shirley, you also did a wellness event, so maybe you could speak about yours a little bit, but I see Anthony is up. Do you have something that you wanted to speak about? Tony, you're muted.
I just always am very encouraged. I mean, I've worked with Marta for a few years. I think she does great work out there in 16. Shirley was on our team helping us to craft ASIC 60. So I just want to encourage everyone who's here. There's plenty of room to be involved. There's plenty of room to encourage. And the thing that I always try to be mindful of is to say to folks, you do not have to do it all by yourself. I think the folks at 321 have a great model there. They involve other people. Marta involves other people. Shirley involves other people. You don't have to carry the burden all by yourself. The thing that I'm always apt to say, a PA or a PTA does not refer to the members of your executive board. You are the members of an executive board. You are not the PA or PTA. You are the elected representatives of your PA or PTA. And so if you have 300 parents in your school that make up your school community, you have 300 parents who are members of your parent association. That's 300 people of resource. That's 300 talents. That's 300 gifts. That's 300 points of view. Utilize them. That's how you build legacy. And that's how you build pipelines. And that's how you create things that last beyond your time in these positions. And it's also how you become your most creative and innovative and fabulous and wonderful and brilliant and beautiful and all of those wonderful adjectives that we could come up with and stay here all day saying. And you have your resources. So I know I answered a lot of questions with people. Who is my FLC? I know Tahiri, thank you Tahiri from one of my schools, LaGuardia High School in Manhattan. She put a listing of all of the FLCs. Your FLC is your resource person in your district. They are attached to your school's superintendent. So every school has an FLC. They're either attached to the district or they are attached to your high school superintendent, because the high school superintendencies are a little more creative than your regular district. So everybody has an FLC. If you need to know who your FLC is, you can reach out to my office. We can put you in touch with your FLC. They are your most direct, immediate resource person. They can put you in touch with your President's Council if you have not been in touch with your President's Council. And every district has one. Every borough has one for the high schools. And so there is, and District 75, if you're here, you have a council, you have an FLC. Ray Velez is your FLC. The thing I want you to walk away with, you are not in this by yourself. Don't ever think you are alone. I love that song by Sting. You're never alone. You are never alone. There are tons and tons and tons of resources to help you and support you and to lift you and to help you through this. We have 6-7 more months. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to force us to be innovative. It's going to force us to be creative. And it's going to make us stronger for what we are and who we are and for who and what we do this for. We do it for our kids, your kids, my kids, all kids. So I could go on and on and on and on and on. People who know me know I could speak, ad infinitum. So I'm going to just close my mouth and let the professionals talk.
We love you for that, Anthony. Tiara, thank you so much. I see that you just put up a link to PTA Link's website, which is our organization, which Jeff
amazing.
Volunteer run. It's a labor of love, but we really do love this work. So thank you. Anthony, something that you said about PS 321 and Shirley and Marta bringing in everyone's support reminded me that I had wanted to ask Cassidy to speak a little bit about the pinch hitters. I still get the PS 321 emails, and I noticed that there was a call for these pinch hitters. So can you talk a little bit about that to people?
Yeah, I mentioned that. So like I said, we created a Google form for volunteers last year and then expanded it this year. For parents who are interested in the book fair, in, lunch, well, we don't have lunchroom volunteers this year, but maybe helping outdoors, for some of our bigger fundraising events or just fundraising events that we have. And so the Google form has been great because it'll give, a parent's name, a parent's email, what grade they're in, and then they can just check whatever things they're interested in. And the pinch hitters list is really just, we've then basically created a parent group of pinch hitters. And anytime we have a last minute need, I think I mentioned it briefly, like when we had our vaccine clinics the past few weeks, we just send an email out to that list. And that's sort of a core group of people who have sort of said, I can't chair an event. I don't have, I can't always be at somewhere at a certain time, but I have some flexibility. And so it's a great way to try and get parents to come in, maybe for an hour or for 2 hours. And we keep asking for more parents to join that volunteer, that list. And it's basically just creating lists of parents who that you can email blast or contact, and hopefully that's your first list of parents that you can start to get volunteers from. And then sharing it through parents. Next is also sharing, like after our pinch hitters, we then often will email class parents to email out to their classes if we're still, in great need of volunteers. But the pinch hitter list is a great way just to have a group of parents who might be able to come in for an hour here and there to help.
Thank you so much. I see that we have hands raised. So David, I'm going to call on the people and perhaps you can unmute them for me. Tahira?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what everybody's experience were with in-school fundraising. Have you guys, because I know that there's technically you're supposed to get 2 bake sales, and I know with COVID everything has changed, but are you allowed any in-school fundraising? Because we're not sure what the process, it seems different in every school and in every borough, and that everything is up to just a general interpretation of that school versus something that's consistently been said across the DOE?
I'm going to answer this question. So a few months back, CPAC and with collaboration with FACE did a guidance on PTA fundraisers activities, which stated that during the pandemic, in general, all activities should be on non-instructional hours. Yes, the chancellor's right, give us the 2. And if the school feels deemed feasible, principal, they can make that allowance. But, but for the general guidance was all right now during the pandemic, all fundraisers, activities, events, family events should be after, that is conducted by the PTA, and President's Councils is after instructional hours.
So
that's the general.
Right, no, that we're aware of. So do you have to go to the principal to get permission to do that? Like if we wanted to sell, we wouldn't sell food. Let's say we were selling our merchandise. So it's up to that principal to decide. In general, yes. Yes, it will be on a school by school basis. So the guidance is to hold off until after the instructional hours, but your principal, if they feel it's feasible and COVID-19 protocols are met, and mind you, everyone in the building has to be vaccinated, they can make the decision. And because the principal is the one who's signing the permit, because you need to, the principal is making the approval, because you must notify the principal and that you're going to do the fundraiser. So the principal is going to make the decision right now during COVID, whether or not you can do fundraiser during instructional hours. No, but we want it, let's say after instructional hours. Let's say it's like a performance. Oh no, you can do it after instructional hours, but you must get your permit. So we should just apply for the permit for these things. That's a process, and then they say yes or no.
It's a combination of both, Tahiri. So it's going to be a combination of communicating and having that conversation with the principal, as well as obtaining the permit. You would have had to obtain the permit anyway if this was even outside of COVID, right? If we were not involved in COVID, if COVID had not been an issue, you would still be required for a permit for certain functions that would be outside of your normal meeting hours. So just for benefit, so that everybody understands what I'm talking about, all PAs and PTAs are allotted 110 hours of free use of space. However, that's been mitigated since the pandemic has started, and we've had restrictions on who can and who cannot enter the building, which has now been synthesized to you must be vaccinated in order to enter a building. But because we may never know who is and who isn't, and we're not trying to put people at risk, students, staff, parents, I would always encourage you to have that conversation with your principal on what are the ground rules that they are establishing for their school community and entrance to the building, in line with the guidelines that have been issued both by the Department of Education, by the Department of Health, and within the guidelines that were issued by my office in cooperation and collaboration with the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council, which Shirley co-chairs. So I have a document that I can share with you, Tahiri, that are the guidelines. They're rather broad, but again, and they're broad on purpose. So it was not to mandate that this has to happen in all schools, but it also allows for things to happen in schools. So they're broad, but it is going to be a conversation that you are going to have with the principal in allowance of that. So the guidelines that were issued by the Department of Health strongly indicate non-instructional hours or weekends. And so within those parameters, CPAC and FACE issued guidance that must be worked through for your school community. And that's the conversation you have with the principal on what can and cannot happen. So I don't want to say that it's absolutely a no, and I don't want to say it's an absolute yes, right? So the thing that I always emphasize is communication with the school staff on how you can reach middle ground.
Right. So if we could get those guidelines, what we're not sure is, it seems like it just depends on, there's a lot of things up for interpretation. So it's hard for us to, it's a slippery slope, because we have no access to fundraising if we're not in the building. Our biggest fundraisers are around performances. So we're trying to figure that out.
So, and I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, this is a conversation that you and I can have.
Yeah, we can have separately. But can you share the guidance?
But yes, we can share the guidance. And Rachel, I'll make sure that we get the guidance to you.
Okay.
Shirley, I know I have a copy of it somewhere that I will share out with Rachel, and she can share it on PTA link. But I think the most important thing in this conversation is to emphasize, yes, there's a lot of gray area right now, but that gray area can also be the germination for a lot of creativity and innovation. And that's what you want to utilize, is that area for creativity. So it's not a hard yes, and it's not a hard no. But because it's not a hard yes and not a hard no, that leaves you a lot of room to say, well, what can we do in this space? And that's the conversation you should have with your school principals.
I just want to add to that, Anthony, because I'm reading in the chat, seeing the chat. Of course, all PTA fundraisers is approved by membership. Membership drives the associations. The executive board is really enacting the wishes of membership. All expenses has to be approved. And this specific situation that Tahara was asking about is fundraiser. So I'm going to use my school as an example. I'm a high school. We're the second largest high school in New York City. We're 210 over capacity. The DOE mandated that we cannot have more than 3,000 students at the time during any period during the school year. So we have to extend our school hours for all instruction, because we have 4,500 students. So school starts at 7:15 and finishes at 4:48. Membership have decided that we weren't going to do any in-person fundraisers during school hours, because if all our students can't be in the building at the same time, why are we adding to the numbers in the building? Because it's overcrowded. So that's why it's open to have conversations with with the school community, if it's appropriate or conducive, or it can be done. We decided that we weren't going to do any in person at this time in the school, because all our students can't even be in the school at the same time as well. And we didn't want to add to the numbers in the building for COVID protocol, social distancing and stuff. Really, literally in our school during normal times, it's like the train station during rush hour, the platform. You can't see your feet. So it really is not conducive for us to do fundraisers during the pandemic in the building during that. So that's why the guidance is broad, because it's going to go by school. Everybody's situation is, different. So that's why it's broad, and you just need to have a conversation with her. And this is another thing to strengthen our relationship with our supporters, our principals, our parent coordinators, UFT, the school communities. So.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Anthony. David, could you unmute Jayeli for a question?
Oh no, I didn't have a question. I actually had one of the things that two fundraisers that we have done in this year that have been very successful for us. The first one is our snack shack. in the mornings before kids come in. We're in the school 20 to 30 minutes before drop off, and we sell snacks to parents who sometimes forget their lunches and stuff. So we sell healthy snacks outside of the school and during dismissal. We haven't started dismissal, but that's our goal to also do it during dismissal. And then another thing was we also are hosting a holiday bazaar where we are renting tables to local vendors and businesses to sell. It's going to be an outdoor event, and we obviously, with social distancing guidances, we have about 17 vendors currently who are going to have tables, and we rented the tables to them. And then we're inviting the school and the community, the whole community, to come and buy from these local vendors.
That sounds amazing. Where are you? Where is your school?
We're at Sunset Park, PS24. We're in elementary school, so we have a huge schoolyard, and we're going to spread out all of the vendors throughout the schoolyard. And it was very successful. We actually rented the tables, $50 a table, and we made we made some good money.
Wow.
And sorry?
Where did you rent the tables from?
We have tables. We had 7 tables, and then we also had a local church donate the rest of the tables, lend them to us.
That's amazing. Any questions about this?
Sorry, another thing I did though was we emailed all the local schools in our area to let them know about the holiday bazaar, let them know they're welcome, and let them know that if they need any of our assistance ever, that we're here for them. And we also asked them for tables, but the church was able to lend them to us and cover them. But just opening that that channel of communication with all the local schools. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to do that as well.
That's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Sorry, somebody that's vendors that we're using. I honestly, I went on Instagram and saw any markets that were happening in the area.
I don't know if we lost Jayeli.
I think we lost her.
Okay. So David, can you unmute Jaime? I think do you still have, yeah, he has a hand raised.
Sorry, I got disconnected. So what I said is I went on Instagram and I saw any local markets that were happening. I reached out to all those vendors personally and asked them if they would like to join. I sent them the flyer and asked them if they would like to join. We also promoted it within with the parents in the school, and we offered them a special price for being a parent in the school. So we gave them half off of the tables. And I went to 2 different markets also in the area and handed out flyers.
Thank you so much. That's amazing information.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jamie Ivan Banda, and I am the Borough President appointee for the CEC 15. Thank you to Jeff, Chanika, and David for making this possible tonight, and Anthony from the Face side, and Rachel. I just want to, I have a seat at the CEC right now, but I started in the garden committee in my school, PS 130 in District 15, where I started volunteering and getting involved with the school, PTA, and now I'm part of the CEC. I also received the information about the meeting tonight, and I sent it to some of my colleagues at the CEC. One of them was early here, Vincent Liu was here earlier. And one of the things that I want to say about the PTA is, especially for Natasha, that has been getting all this idea, of general idea of what we do. One of the things that in our school we did is really to identify our population. This is our 3rd year of making a Spanish family night, Bangladeshi family night, and Russian family night. So all these things that we do in the school are usually a highway of two ways. You know, a flyer in a backpack might work, but not necessary. So you really have to try to reach out your community. You really need to know the composition of your student body, the parents. You can also take advantage of the kids. The kids are more in touch with anybody in the school because they play together, they go to school together, they speak the language, they speak English. So there's a good connection that we can use in order to reach parents. And one of the things that, unfortunately, one of the things that has helped us during the pandemic is that because everybody's at home, then everybody has time to get into this meeting. So we have more attendance for the PTA, we have more attendance for the family nights. We're trying to add one more language next year. And we're trying to do these meetings with the families and the languages twice a year. But we'll see how it works. But it's just working together with the parents, working together with the vendors. We also have a winter bazaar. We put tables and we bring some of the parents. Some of the parents cook tamales, some of the parents cook empanadas. But at the same time, the other way with the parents is that we help them with their business. The lady that sells tamales in our event for the Super Bowl, she has specials of frozen tamales. So we help her as well with her business. So this is the way. In my building, I have one of my neighbors makes jewelry. So she rents a table during the winter bazaar and she sells jewelry. And also some of those vendors that we get from the community also help us donating items for our auction in March. In March, we have an auction and we have painters, we have sculptors, we have singers, we have people that teach how to play a guitar, a flute, and they donate that so we can auction that and get money for our school. So it's a lot of work. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but you have to engage the parents by doing the things. I'm borrowing things that Marta already said, that Anthony already said, that Cesario already said, but it's just that I'm not trying to invent anything, but it's that you need to know your community. You need to know what you have. From our community, now we're using 2 graphic designers that are designing all the logos for our t-shirts, our hoodies, and we sell to the parents. So you need to know your community and see how they can help you. And yes, it's true. There's only like 10 or 15 that are always doing things all the time, but sometimes you're surprised because they bring other parents. Movie night is a very big exit. Pre-pandemic was a very big event for us because we show a movie and parents were baking cupcakes, brownies, cookies, and then parents were cleaning the auditorium after the movie. So it's just you have to engage in the parents. It works both ways, and you have to have a very good relationship with the administration for all this. Yes, there's a lot of gray areas, but we need to be creative. The pandemic has pushed us to be creative. And like Anthony said, 300 people, 400 people, 600 people in the school is where you get all this creativity and solutions for all the things that we can do in our schools for our kids and for our community. Thank you very much again to Jeff and the Borough President office for doing this event tonight. And please also check your, like Anthony said, check your FACE district office, check your CEC. Every CEC has a website and everybody has a email there. You contact the liaisons for your school. So there's a lot of help. And you, again, borrowing from Anthony, you're not doing this by yourself. There is help, but you need to reach out. You need to talk to people. Thank you, Rachel, and great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it. So we have maybe a minute or so, or we can go a minute or two over. Any other questions or any other sharing? It's been so great to hear so many voices. While we're looking through the chat at the end, I will say this is our last event with this administration, Borough President. This is, as Jeff said, this is our 19th event. And I created PTA Link, and we started doing these events because we wanted to bring parent leaders together to share information and to teach each other and to learn from each other. And it's been a really incredible experience learning from all of you, watching you all do that. And it's so amazing to me that I'm sitting here looking at my tiny laptop, feeling so much energy and passion and enthusiasm and connection from all of you. It's not from my laptop, it's from all of you. So it's really amazing. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for joining us here and being a resource to each other. I feel really humbled to have been a part of this.
So if I don't see any other questions, I just want to say also, first I want to say apologies, autocorrect got me. The video will be posted on ptalink.org, not on praline.org. I don't know, my only excuse is I'm old and tired. It will be sent through, also be sent through some sort of Google Drive, David tells me, to everyone who RSVP'd. So if we have your email, we'll send it to you, but it will also be on ptalink.org. And hopefully in about a week or so, just not sure how long it's going to take logistically, but that's the goal. And I just wanted to add, thank you all for the support over the years. It really means a lot to us, and we hope that tonight and over the last 19 events, you've received valuable information, and it's really from you, right? Because this has always been parent-driven. And just want to add to what Rachel said about being inspired. Anyone who's willing to spend an extra 2 hours on a Wednesday night during a pandemic is the epitome of dedication. And that gives me a lot of hope for the future of education for our schools, knowing that there are this many parents who are willing to do that. I put my email in the chat if you need to contact me. As Rachel mentioned, this is the last event of this administration, so that email is probably good for another 3 weeks, and we'll see what happens from there. But I do look forward to seeing you all in the future, and I hope if you see me, you will come up and say hello. And let me know where you know me from. So that'd be wonderful. I'd love to see you all again. Thank you. And I don't know, it looks like there might be another question. I know that Tiakia, I'm sorry about the pronunciation, Tim's had a question earlier. Can we unmute her?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, mine was more just of also another idea. At my school at PS 279, we usually do like a potluck dinner for Thanksgiving, but being that we couldn't do that this year, we did a gobblegram for the kids, and they was able to purchase a gobblegram and give to their friends, their teachers, and anybody in the school that they wanted. So we sent that out, and we did that. Next week, we actually have the penguin patch, which we're going to be selling different stuff that the penguin patch sent already for the kids to buy. That was another great idea that we did. And we're going to do like the candy cane sale for Christmas.
Well, those are great ideas. If you have any other information about that, can you just pop them in the chat?
Surely will. I can do that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
Rachel, if I can make one more unsolicited plug for our trainings next week, because I know that there's some great interest in that. So yes, our office will be sponsoring 3 trainings, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. That's the 14th, 15th, and 16th of next week. I was trying to scroll through my phone and find the dates and times, but I know that we forwarded the information to Rachel, and they'll put that up on PTA Link. Or you can, again, reach out to me at my email, asettle@schools.nyc.gov, and we'll get you those dates and times. We do ask that you pre-register beforehand, and you can do that through Parent University for the DOE, and that will get you onto this to get you the link to the site I am so bad with technology. I can't do two things at the same time. So, but I can say that it will be Tuesday morning, I believe, Wednesday evening, and Thursday morning.
Thanks, Anthony. David, could you unmute Rose, please? She has her hand up as well.
Hello. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rosemary Galston. I'm the Borough President appointee to CC 27 Queens. I received the email because I used to volunteer in Brooklyn. I'm a former Head Start Policy Council member. I just have one question. So I noticed I'm the first time PTA president. I noticed that between the CEC and PTA, the operation is a little bit different. So I wanted to know, do I need permission from FACE if I wanted to say during the PTA meeting, inform parents about CUNY citizenship now or stuff like that? Is that something I need permission for, or can I just share information as is?
So you have great flexibility and great leniency in what you can and cannot share with your members. Virtually, whatever you choose to share, you can share with your members. The only thing that we would always ask is that it be respectful, useful, and polite, so that not disparaging remarks against the principal. That we would frown on that.
Right.
But information that's going to help your parent community, by all means, that's what we want you to share. We want you to be that conduit of information. So if this is going to help the members of families within your school community, yes, share. Those are things that you should be talking about in your school community. Because if you look at the ancillary things that families deal with, right, that impact a student's focus, concentration, and ability to learn in school, we want to break down those barriers.
Right.
So if this is an issue for families in your school community, by all means, let's help them get past that hurdle. Right? Let's break down that wall. Let's tear down that barrier so that that is no longer a worry for that family and essentially no longer a worry for that student. If there's homelessness that's rampant in your community, we want you to share information that's going to help people find shelter. Help if you have shelters in your community, we want you to provide opportunities for families to experience all the things that all the other families are experiencing in your community. So there's no barrier on what you can and cannot share. What we would ask you not to share with you are disparaging remarks about your school or your school community. We have forums, and there are forums for which you can express your displeasures. We don't want you like putting out leaflets, tear down the school, that kind of stuff, right? That's not helpful in a conversation. What we want is constructive conversations to happen so that we're bringing people together, not separating and tearing them apart. So if those are concerns that the members of your school community have that need to be responded to, respond.
Well, our community, I'm in District 30, and it's it's an affluent immigrant community, but I was told by my school that before I cannot promote an organization. I said I wasn't promoting an organization. I am bringing information that parent needs. If someone is transitioning from a permanent resident to citizen, and I know ways of how to help you get there, then that's what I want to do. But they told me I couldn't do it. So I just want clarity.
You don't need permission from us, and you have a great deal of autonomy. The one thing that we would say that we would not, when we say would go against the regulation, and that is if you brought in one political candidate over another, right? That you don't endorse a political candidate. That would be one of the things that we would say is you should not do. But there's very little in the regulation in terms of those kinds of information sharing things that we say that you can or cannot do. That we really don't speak to it much. So the regulation is my favorite phrase to spin Winston Churchill, right? And that is keep calm and live on the reg.
And you won't go wrong. Okay.
You won't go wrong.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you so much.
So we have 3 more hands raised, so maybe we can just get through these before we have to sign off. Adrian?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, this was a great session. I'm going to be quick because I know we're running over time, but I just wanted to share that we were able to do a few fundraisers throughout our pandemic. One for tomorrow, actually, we're going to have a tree lighting event. It's a free event, but basically it's going to, we wanted to get all of the community involved. So that's the whole purpose of having this. So we're going to have the hot chocolate, the cookies. We're having everything, you know, as far as the cookies, they're going to be divided where we can just hand them out to the families. We're also going to have a Santa where the kids can take photos. We are a high school, but again, we do have elementary schools and other schools in the area. So we want to do that partnership with those families. And at the same time, while we're promoting and having the tree lighting ceremony, we're also going to promote our performing arts department, which is doing a Christmas show next week. So at the same time, this will involve our community, but at the same time, we're promoting our kids who are doing the performing arts, the band, the choir, and those type of things. So I just wanted to share that. That may be an idea for someone, maybe not for this year, but for next year. We also were able to do our Thanksgiving baskets this year for the families. So thank goodness our leadership, our PTA leadership has a connection with the principal and the board. They include us in all their meetings. So they were able to identify some of the parents who were in need during this time, and we were able to give out baskets as well. So that's just only one or two of the things that we've done. But we have been very, I have to say, very blessed that we were able to do all the activities that we did throughout the last 2 years. And thank you so much for having this forum. I look forward to Miss Marta Torres. I will be reaching out to you. Thank you for your information. And also Mr. Settle and Miss Fine, thank you again. I do appreciate this time, and I will, some of my leadership team attended as well. So we thank you for having this forum.
Thank you for attending and thank you for sharing. It's really interesting. What school are you at?
This is with Bishop Lachlan.
Oh,
so
great.
with my situation is a little tricky because of, you know, we're a Catholic school, but at the same time, when the PTA wants to do different projects, a lot of the money comes from the fundraisers that we do. So
Right.
we push really hard, like Ms. Torres says, like you really got to tell people what your vision is, what it's for, and then that's how we're able to do a lot of the things. Like last year, we were able to do 40 baskets because we raised the amount of money with the PTA. And then for the seniors that graduated, I'm going to be real quick, I don't want to keep going, but for the seniors that graduated, we were able to host a whole week of events for them and still did social distancing. For example, for the students that were going away to college, we gave them a basket that had detergent, all the stuff that they would need when they're staying on the dorms. We were able to give them money in cash just to have for their books and those type of things. So again, you just have to bring people into your vision of what you want to do. Be transparent where the money is going. We always give an update, like this will be our 3rd bake sale, which we're having. We're able to do that. And the first bake sale that we had, we raised over $600. And that was just selling items for like $1 to $2. But we always give a report to the parents. And the more information we share with them, the more that they want to give. And I know we spoke earlier on the virtual meetings. I have to say, like our last meeting, the last couple of meetings, we had over 100 people in attendance on the virtual calls. So they do appreciate that and the information.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you so much for sharing.
So thank you. And we want to do more, so I will be reaching out. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to share with you.
No, thank you. Allison?
Hi, thank you. I just have a quick question about fundraising. I am new to the PTO at our school, and most of our board is as well. We're just having some questions about a fundraising opportunity that we have that we could work on ASAP, but we don't have membership approval. Is there some ideas about how we can do that? Have people done like a survey monkey to their membership, or what's something that we can do? Because our next monthly meeting is right before the holidays, and we're hoping to start working on this maybe, on Monday.
The only thing I can tell you, Allison, is that you will need to get that approval, but I'm going to leave it to far more knowledgeable people on the practicalities of how to do that. And by turning over to Shirley or to Marta or Cassidy, I'm so sorry, I just murdered your name.
Don't worry, Cassidy.
Cassidy,
I'm very used to it, not to worry.
Who are probably, I'm work on the regulatory side, so I can tell you, you got to get the approval, right? They can tell you better ways to get
Right.
the
How do we
approval.
do it?
You're right.
Thank you.
I guess I'm going to jump in here. One of the ways that our bylaws or the regs allow us to hold a special meeting. So you get the approval and you have the minutes for that meeting, and to indicate anybody has questions. So the special meeting, you need five days. So that'll be the fastest way and probably the easiest way. So you can have time for membership to ask questions in regarding to the fundraisers. If they have any questions, I will go to the route for the special meeting.
Got it. Thank you so much, Shirley. I appreciate it.
Cassidy or Marta, do you have anything else to add?
Also, when you're voting on something that you want to do, you have to make sure that you have quorum. DOE states minimum quorum is 8 people. So take really care to make sure you have enough people in the room to make the vote.
I just saw the note in the chat as well. We do a proposed budget in the spring, and then we approve that budget by our membership, generally in our first or second, usually first meeting in the fall. And so it's, again, it's just communication with our principal at school. And, for some of the fundraisers too, we've had no expense with them. So it's getting figuring out how quickly we can do something. And then, yes, trying to get a large group of approval to do it. So I guess it depends on what your fundraiser, most of our fundraisers at our school, most of our fundraisers are things that we've done every year. So they tend to be worked in. But this is a year where there's definitely need for flexibility and trying to work things in for sure.
Thanks all. That was great. So, Maudlene.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Maudlin. I'm from PS219 school, the PTA president there. One of my weakest points with the PTA is cooperation from parents, involvement with parents. Very, very weak point. We have tried everything possible, but we're not getting the parents' involvement as I would love to see it. Along with the coordinator, we do different things to get them involved, but it's very, very on a very poor level. All right, we did Picture Day in October, which was a good success for us. For Thanksgiving, we had a big giveaway. When I said big, I mean big giveaway. And one of the things I saw was the line, the amount of people that was there. And I'm saying, why can't the PTA be as this? We had turkey, we had chicken, we had perishable, non-perishable. I mean, a lot of stuff we have that we gave away for Thanksgiving. Right now I'm working on helping with the graduation, trying to get some fun for the graduation. My major question to you, can we do raffles as fundraiser? Mr. Antoni?
Yes, you can. But I'm gonna approach this from a regulatory standpoint. There are some parameters that the regulation is going to lay out. So if you are above a certain amount, you have to be in touch with more official people than the DOE, and that would be with folks at the Department of Treasury in New York State. If it's a simple raffle, like we're raffling off a gift basket that's like $25, then you're you're fine. You're well within there. We're talking, but in those situations where the raffles are above, say, $5,000, then that has to be, that involves New York State Department of Treasury, and I really don't recommend that for anyone.
No.
But
No,
if it's a gift basket that's gonna, that's valued at $25, $50, that's perfectly fine. You're well within those rights to do that.
So it can be like 25 to 100 then. Could you say 100 as well?
100, yeah, maybe, yeah. But I'm gonna defer again. I approach this from from words on a paper, not actually putting it into action. And so my colleagues, I gladly call people my colleagues who are doing this for their schools, for their districts, I'm going to defer to them.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to say, I've done raffles before, but we don't sell the raffles to the students, just to the parents.
Yeah, that's what I plan to do, not to the students, just the parents or the community at large.
Yes.
Because when we had the giveaway, we didn't basic only in the school, we opened to the community. Anybody around the community to come and get some food item. It was one of our big events we have so far for the school here.
And also, get your parents where they're at. If they came to you on Thanksgiving, that's when you're giving your information. This is what we need you for. This is what we're trying to do. Let's vote on this while they're eating, while whatever, because that's what they came for. Take advantage of the opportunity.
We try that, and we're hoping it works. Because what I did, all the numbers from the picture day, I make sure I have those numbers and the emails. I've been calling, begging, come to the PTA meeting. We need to get involved. This is our school. This is our children. Let us be here for each other. We can't just leave the child alone or children alone to the teachers. We have to get involved.
I get it, but maybe you should try something a little different, like meet them at their interests. And as you're bringing them in with things you're doing that they're interested in, then you fill their head with what you need to get done.
We did that in a survey. It didn't came off too well. We had a survey with that.
No, you see how you're saying you're calling them? Ask them. How you're calling them? Ask them. It doesn't have to be that your whole school community is going to come to one event, but you're going to get the 10, the 20, whatever. That's a lot of people to make something happen. Okay. But get them at their interest, and then behind that, give them the information that you need.
Okay, we'll try that.
And I want to piggyback on what Martha said, and that is, I always believe building small. Nothing ever starts from the top. Everything starts from the ground up. And so if you get 10 people to your next meeting, okay, you've met quorum and you had 2 extra. Ask those 10 to bring one other person along with them to the next meeting. Then 10 becomes 20. So that's one way. But I think Martha is onto something. We have a lot of great ideas, and I have thousands of great ideas every day, but they're my ideas, right? And
I was going to add to that.
My ideas, and keep doing it. It's not gonna happen overnight. That's the point I'm making, right?
I believe in
it's
that.
Your ideas plus someone else's ideas, and you just keep at it little by little, and eventually it will grow. You plant a seed, and the flower doesn't grow the next day. It grows over a period of time. And so you're planting seeds.
I did even meet incentive for parents. I collected the names and made sure I have a record of the names of parents who attended the meeting. And we award a Parents of the Year gift to the parents who attend most of the meeting, just to see if we can motivate the others, right? But we have workshop, which wasn't too bad. We have a few parents come to the work. They were very, very informative workshops we did for last year. We haven't done anything for this year yet where workshop is concerned, But Martha, I'm gonna be coming to you.
I'm going to add to. I'm going to add to that. My co-chair put student of the month. We've done that. It's always successful. Parents want to see their child succeed. We have put performances, mini performances at the PTA meeting. Parents is going to bring their child so they could perform. This will bring more membership. When we was talking about the raffles, especially in the holiday, we know that the numbers drop because it's the holiday season, people are shopping. We give out raffles, and we keep the raffles small so we can give out a number of raffles during the PTA meetings. So there's a lot of little ways, like Martha was saying, to bring them into the PTA meeting. And Anthony said, little by little, and once they parents will spread the word. We're getting a lot of information, and at the same time, and one good thing too is to keep the meetings, try to keep it within an hour.
Short, yeah.
Short.
Yes.
So so they have the attention, and again, being able to meet virtually like this, it should increase participation and involvement.
But it's going to take time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It'll take time, little by little. I think everybody who is here will tell you that what they have, they had to build.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take some time. But the most important thing, you don't have to do it all by yourself.
I'm not.
You don't have to do it all by yourself. You are an executive board member. You are not the PA or PTA.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for your advice. And Martha, I'm going to be one of your students.
All right, I think that's everything, right? I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and staying extra. Good luck in your developing your parent organizations. Rachel, is there anything you want to say?
I just want to give an extra thanks to Shirley, Cassidy, and Marta. They worked really hard on their presentations, gave them a lot of thought, put a lot of time into it. On top of everything else that they're doing. So I'm extremely grateful to them and want to make sure everyone knows how much they put into this.
Yes, thank you. Okay, everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Jeff.
Happy holidays.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Amazing 19 workshops with you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Rachel.